Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar. I am Pauline and I'm really happy to be here with you today to present the Odoo HR apps. So today we'll use a case study to see how the Odoo HR apps are the right tools for an integrated employee management. So this we will do using 5 apps. The Employees app. I'm sorry, I actually hear myself. So I'll today we'll use a case study to see how the Odoo HR apps are the right tools for an integrated. My apologies. That's the problem with when we live stream. Okay, so we will use 5 different apps: the Employees app, the Fleet application, the Time Off application, the Approvals, and finally the Appraisals application. So the Employee application we will use to see how you can store and manage your employees' information. We will then go to the Fleet application, which will show you all your company cars. We will also be able to allocate a car to an employee. Then we will have the Time Off application, where we will see how you can allocate time off, how your employees can request time off, and you can validate these time offs as well. The Approvals application will then allow us to manage employees' requests on a very easy way. And finally, we will end with the Appraisal application. Okay, so let's start. So for this webinar, I created a database, which is right here. So it's a free trial in which I have added the 5 apps I just mentioned. So as every free trial you can do, it is Odoo Enterprise version 13. You can start yourself a free trial by going on odoo.com/trial. So the 5 apps are right here. So I have the Appraisal application, the Employees application, Time Off, Approvals, and Fleet. So you also see that I have Discuss and Calendar. These are free applications that you will always have when you create an Odoo database. You also have the apps here that allow you to add a new app, and finally the settings. Okay, so let's get started with the Employees application. So here, when you arrive on your Employees application, you see all the employees that you have in your company. So here I only have 6, but if you had more and that you were not able to view everyone on one page, you would be able to change page here. You also see the different departments that you have in your company. So here I have 4. Sorry. So these are the ones I created, but you can change them. You can go into configuration here and departments. So again, here you see the 4 I created, and you start to see here how Odoo is integrated with different apps. So here you see the absence level. So you see for each department how many people are absent. Today everyone is in the office. You can also see the appraisals that are scheduled. So for administration department, you have 2 and 1 for the sales department, for instance. If you want to create a new department, you just click here on the create button. You then have this very short file that appears, and you can complete department name, manager, and parent company. Parent department. So the department name is the only field that's mandatory. How do you see this? It's because this line here is bold. So it's up to you if you choose to have a parent department or manager or not. So here I want to create a new one. Also, if you want to modify a department that already exists, you can click here on the 3 little buttons and going to settings. So here, for example, the administration department, I can add a manager, add a parent department. It's really up to you. You also see the history of that department, of everything that has been done. So you can see, for example, that Luke Thompson used to be the manager of the administration department, but he is not anymore because he has been removed and not replaced. Okay, so if we go back now to our employee view, we can easily create a new employee. Because for this webinar, I will create a new employee and I will see, using all the apps, everything you can do for this employee. So let's create one. So I can add his name. That's probably the most important thing to add. And then I can give him a department. So for example, the administration department, and a job position, he will be HR officer. You can see that because I added it here, it appeared here as well. And the manager was not automatically completed because there is no manager for the administration department, as we just saw. But if there was a manager, then it would automatically come here. So let's assign someone. It will be the HR manager. And you can also notice that I am actually the HR manager. So you can then complete some work information, such as the coach and the time off responsibles. So automatically, the manager is completed to be these people, but you can change that. So you can remove and add someone else. So that's up to you. But in this case, I'll keep the HR manager. You then have the private information tab. Here you have plenty of questions that are asked about your employee, such as its nationality, date of birth, marital status, plenty of information that are really important for you to have. So I won't spend too much time in this webinar completing this because I'm sure you know to do it. So let's go now into the HR settings tab. Here you have the related user. That's probably one of the most important things to complete when you create an employee in Odoo, if you want your employee to be able to use Odoo. So to be able to use Odoo, you need to create a user. So this I won't do in this webinar unless if you ask me to, then you can just ask me in the chatter and I'll show you at the end of the webinar. So here I already created Tom here. So by adding Tom here, Odoo knows that when Tom will connect to Odoo, he is linked to this employee and all the information I added about him. Then here we have the part about the appraisal form, who does need to be sent to, and the last date of the appraisal. So this we will discuss in a bit more details when we get to the appraisals application, but you already have an idea about who can take who you can send an appraisal form to, and you remember that we can change that for each employee. Okay, so let's then save Tom's profile. And I actually realized that I forgot to add a picture. So let's do this right now, right here. Click the picture. There we go. So I have Tom's profile that's done. So in addition to all the information that I added that are right here, you can see the organizational chart of the company. So you can see that Tom's manager is the HR manager and that the manager of the HR manager is Jerry, the CEO. You can also see very important information over here. You see that Tom is not connected right now to Odoo. That makes sense because we just created his profile. And also the fact that he doesn't have time off yet. And also the appraisal date has not been set yet. But we will get back to this view at the end of the webinar and you will see how everything changed. Okay, so let's now get back to the main employee view. You can see that Tom has been added here, and if I click on administration, he's here too. Perfect. So let's now get into the fleet application. When I click onto the fleet application, I see all the company cars I have. So I decided to organize them in 4 different columns, but that's totally up to you. You can see here on the right, the add a column button. If you click on it, you can just add a column title, click on add. It will be automatically added. You can also reorganize your columns if you feel like ordered cards need to be before. It's really your choice. You can 100% make it yours. So for Tom, I have 2 options. I can or create a new car for him, clicking on the create button. I complete all the information about the car and assign it to him by driver here. Or I can assign him a car that I already have, but that's not assigned right now, like this one, for instance, the Audi. And it's perfect because Tom told me he wanted the Audi. So let's give him this one. I'll just click on edit and I'll add his name on the driver here. So Tom. I'll save. There we go. And now if I go into driver's history, I'll see that Tom is now driving this car starting today and that Laura and Julie were driving it before. I can also get plenty of information on the car, such as the contracts, the costs, the services, the fuel, and the odometer. So this helps you keep track of what a car is actually costing you, how well is going the car, does it have to go to repair too often? So it really helps. So now that I have assigned the car to Tom, I can move Tom in the registered part. Well, it's not really Tom, it's a car. Perfect. Now that Tom has a car, I'm sure he would love to get time off. So let's get into the time off application here. So when I open the application, the first thing I see is my personal dashboard, because the HR manager also gets time off, of course. So here I see that out of the 20 paid time off I received, I used 4. So I have 16 remaining. I can also see here in this calendar view that I took last Wednesday off. So as I'm the manager, I also have different views, such as like everyone's schedule. So here I can see for the month of July, who was away when or who is planning what. I can see the same for different months. You can change from here. And you can also see some reporting by employee or by type. That's up to you. So I'll do by employee for now. So here I see for each employee, you see their name here, who has taken what. So I can, for example, see that Natalia has been taking a lot of sick days. Maybe I should check on her. But let's get back to Tom. Let's assign him some time off. So I can just go into managers here and go into allocations. Here I have a view on all the allocations that have been made for my employees in the past. And I can easily create a new one for Tom. So I'll just click on the button create here. Here I go. So I heavily suggest that you start with the allocation mode. Here you can choose between 4 options: by employee, by company, by department, or by employee tag. So in this case, I'll choose by employee because I only want to give time off to Tom. So then I'll complete the name because by default it's myself, but I'll assign it to Tom. And I can also choose the time off type. So here I have 2 options. I can choose between paid time off or compensatory days. These are there just because I created them, but you can create your own time off types by going into configuration time off types. I can show you this after the webinar if you wish. You can just ask that in the chatter. So for now, I'll take paid time off and I'll add a little description and say it's his legal leaves for this year. And it's what he has left from his previous employer. So he only has 6 left. I can even add a reason, but I don't feel like it's needed for now. I will save. And then I need to approve and validate this time off, which I just did. So now Tom has received this time off. So let's log out as the HR manager and log in as Tom to see what it looks like on his profile. There we go. Yes, so let's go into time off application. And you can see that he has 6 days of paid time off here that obviously didn't take any yet because I just allocated them to him. So now if Tom wants to take some days off, he has 2 options to do that. Or he clicks here on the new time off request button. There he can complete the information. Or the second option he has is to directly click on the date that he's interested in. For example, he wants to take next Friday off. So you just click on the date and he gets the exact same page except that the date is already set. So he needs to choose the time off type. Here he has 3 options: paid time off, which we just allocated to him, sick, or unpaid. Sick and unpaid have not been allocated to him, but he can still take them because when I created these time off types, I have decided that they don't need to be allocated for my employees to be able to take them. But again, you can change this by going into configuration time off types. So here you will choose paid time off and he can change the dates that he wants to take off. So he wants to start by Friday, but maybe he wants to take Monday off too. So he will click to the 27th and you can see that even though the weekend is in between, Odoo knows that Tom is not working on weekends. So he has 2 days off only. He can even add a little description, but it's not a mandatory field, so it's up to him, and he will save. So you can see that the time off automatically appears in here, but that it does not appear here. Why? Because this time off has not been approved by a manager yet. Once it will be approved, the days will be decounted from here. So let's get back to the manager view to see what the request looks like and to approve this time off. We go. So you can see here that I have an activity. So a time off, I have 1. And directly I see the request by Tom. So I have 2 options. Or I can directly approve or refuse by clicking here. Or I can decide to know more and I click on the request. So I still see the same information, dates, duration, of course name and time of type, but I also see what Tom has been taking this year. So obviously here it's none, because Tom just arrived at the company. I just created his profile a few minutes ago. I can also see what the people in his departments are taking this month. So the administration department, which is the department we put Tom in, we have Luke and myself, the HR manager, that are taking days off. So I can check the dates and make sure that I don't have the entire department off on the same week before I approve this time off. So I'll see that it's fine. It doesn't overlap too much, so I'll just approve and validate this time off. Perfect. So now that it has been approved, it will change on Tom's profile. So as you will be able to see in a few minutes. There we go. So time off here. So 2 out of 6 and 4 remaining. So that's exactly what he has asked for, so it is perfect. Please note also that Tom has received an email to be notified that the time off has been approved. Yep, now that Tom has a time off, he would like to make a request to his manager, but he doesn't want to go in the manager's office and bother him or her, so he will just use the approvals application. So when you go in the approvals application, here you see 8 different types of requests you can make. So these 8 different types are pre-registered in Odoo, but you can easily change them by going into configuration settings. So here we don't see that button because Tom doesn't have the right to modify these. But if you are the administrator of your Odoo account, you can easily do this. So Tom will use the business trip category because he wants to go on a business trip in Madrid. So he will just click on new request here. And he will have a form to complete because he needs to give more information about where he wants to go and what for. So he will complete like business trip to Madrid. He can still change the category here, but business trip perfectly fits for him. And he of course needs to say when he wants to go. So for example, he wants to go from 29th. He can even mention the dates, the hours, he wants to leave. Yep. And when will he come back? On the 31st at 3 p.m. Perfect. He can write a location too and a little description to motivate, to justify on why he wants to go. So you can say, for example, it's just job fair that would be interesting for us to attend. There we go. He can just save and submit this to his manager. So now, of course, we will get back to the manager view. Yep. And we can see again that we have a little activity for today and that we have a business trip to Madrid to approve. So I see all the information that Tom just entered in the system. And based on that, Odoo is telling me that I need to have an activity for today is to approve this request. So I can just approve or refuse from here and same from here. But maybe I feel like I need more information before I actually approve or refuse this trip. So I'll log a note and I'll tag Tom in this. And I'll say, can you give me more information, please? Yep, I'll just log this. Tom will be notified of this comment and he will be able to reply the exact same way by logging a note. He can even add an attachment here, for example, like the flyer he received. That could be a good attachment. But let's say I've discussed with Tom and it's fine. He gave me all the information I need, so I can approve this. I still have the option to withdraw my approval if I want to. But for now, I'm good with this. So it's now time to go into the appraisal application, which is right here. When you click on it, you see all the appraisals that are scheduled, that have been sent, or that are already done, or even there is even a cancelled column, but I didn't use it yet. So before we get into more details, let's go into the configuration and settings of this app, because they are very important parts here. So first you are asked about the minimum time and the maximum time between two appraisals. That is very important for you to set, because you might not want your employees to have an appraisal every month, or you might not want an employee to not have an appraisal in 3 years, for instance. So here you can choose the duration, the minimum and the maximum duration. The minimum duration will imply that your employee will not be able to ask for an appraisal if that duration has not passed yet. And the maximum will send an automatic appraisal request to your employee. I also highly recommend that you check this box here, the reminders that are automatically sent by email. And then you can choose the default appraisal participants. So here I have selected manager and employee because I believe that's how an appraisal should happen. But you can also decide to involve colleagues or collaborators. That's up to you. And if you remember, when we created Tom's profile, manager and employee were pre-checked because I had checked them here. But based on what you check here, you will see in your employee's file, but you can still adapt it to each employee. For example, if you consider that a manager doesn't need to be evaluated by its colleagues, that's fine. Or you can choose the opposite. It's really up to you. So below here, you can see the default appraisal invitations that will be sent when someone requests an appraisal. But you can, of course, modify this based on what you want. That's the template Odoo is creating for you. And here below, you see you don't have collaborators and colleagues just because you didn't check it here. You can see if you check it, that it appears. So that's really up to you to choose what is important and what is maybe less important for your company. So here I'll discard because I don't want to save these changes. And I'll get back to the appraisal view. Now that I see how it looks, I'll create an appraisal for Tom. So I'll add his name here. See, the manager automatically appears because the appraisal app is linked to the employee app. And so the appraisal app automatically knows that Tom's manager is the HR manager. Same here, employee and manager will be mailed because when I created Tom's employee file, I selected employee and manager to be part of the appraisal. But I can still change my mind. I can still say I want the subordinates to be part of that too. It's really, you can change your choices anytime. I can also choose an appraisal deadline. So by default, it's the end of the month, but you can say that you want end of next month. That's really possible. Then you also have the template of the mails that will be sent. So these are used based on what we just saw in the configuration. But you can still change them here. It's not because it's your template that you need to send that template to everyone. So it's really your choice. But I'll say I'm happy with this now, so I'll just save. And when I get back now to the appraisal view, the general view, I see that Tom is here. I also see that when I'll move him to the appraisal sent stage, which is the case for Luke Thompson, for example, I will have the button here to schedule the final interview. Because, of course, you first need to send an email to your employee and your manager to let them know that there is an appraisal to come, but they need to find a date for them to meet. So here they can schedule the appraisal, and once it's done, the appraisal will move to the done stage, or it might be that the appraisal is cancelled and would then move to the cancelled stage. So that's for the appraisal. Now that we are getting to the end of this webinar, we will actually get back to the employee application here. And so now I'm still in the administration department. That's why I don't see all my employees. But if I get back to all, and I can get to Tom's profile, I will see here in this button that things have changed since I started. So of course, Tom is still not connected, but his time off appears now. So I can know that he has 6 and that he has already used 2. I can also see the date of the next appraisal. So as we didn't schedule the appraisal yet, this is the deadline that we set. And I can also see that he has a car assigned to him. So these are all smart buttons, as we call them. So if you click on it, you are directly redirected to the information of that app. So here it's the Fleet app, but you can see that you're still on the employees application. So that shows how Odoo is actually really well integrated. There we go. And it's the same for time off and appraisal. So, but now let's say that circumstances have made that Tom wants to leave us because he has found a new job. And you don't want to delete all the information you have about Tom, but you don't want him to appear here anymore because he's not really part of the team anymore. So we have an option for this on Odoo, is that you can archive an employee. This you will do by going into Action here and click on Archive. So of course the system asks me if I'm sure because it's an important decision. I'll say yes. I can choose the plan I want. So here I only created onboarding and offboarding, but you can create any plan you want. I can also choose the departure reason. I can choose between fired, resigned, or retired. So here he resigned. And I can add additional information like found a new job. I can just save. And you see automatically he has been archived. And when I get back to my employee view, he disappeared. So now you're probably thinking, but how can I find his information? Really easy. You go into Filters, Archived, and you see all the employees that have been archived in my company. So you have Tom here, and then you have a previous office manager. And that's it for today's demonstration. We will now go into questions. If you have any, you can ask them in the chatter. Otherwise, you can always email us at webinars@odoo.com. So I see here I have a question about Yassine Attari that is asking, can you please touch on how to create an employee performance valuation template? I would say I'm not too sure about the exact steps, so I would recommend, before I say anything that's not 100% correct, Yassine to send me an email at webinars@odoo.com so that I'll be able to check that in further details to give a perfect answer. So it doesn't seem to have more questions. But as I said, if you have more questions, never hesitate. You can always email us at webinars@odoo.com and we will be more than happy to answer them. We would like to thank you for participating in this webinar and have a nice day.